but I believe I saw the red light come on, so that means that we're on Facebook Live. Ryan's in the other room, so you know our producer, Aaron, he's giving me like 20 different thumbs up and down signals. I feel like on the flight deck, you know, when they're doing that stuff. He's doing this. I'm seeing like this sideways, one of these, two of those.
It's like me when I talk.
Right. Absolutely. He's going Italian on us here. We're waiting on Sebastian Maniscalco to join us. Sebastian's coming to Fox Theater, 2 shows, 7 and 10 p.m., Friday, April 5th. Biggest comedian in the world right now? One of the hottest?
I would say one of the hottest,
Gotta
definitely.
Be. The Netflix special is everywhere. He was in Green Book. He's going to be in this monster movie with Scorsese and literally everybody. Have you read the cast yet for The Irishman?
I have not, but
Holy
you were telling
crap.
me about it.
Yeah, he's going to call us back in just a minute here. It's everybody. It's De Niro, Pacino, Harvey Keitel, Joe Pesci. Sebastian's in it, and that's just part of that I can remember off the top of my head. And this is one of those movies that's going to go to theaters and Netflix in the fall. Remember we were talking before with Mosky about Roma and the push that Netflix did for the Oscars? This is the one that I was asking, what's next from Netflix? There you go.
You're reading off the cast, and I'm thinking it's just a reboot of Goodfellas, basically.
Kind of. Well, you know, and everyone, obviously, the Detroit connection, when you're talking about Frank, was it Sheeran, the Irishman, when the book came out, he alleged that he was one of the people who had killed Hoffa. Or he had killed Hoffa. And I seem to remember we went through this one. You know, every couple of years we dig up the horse farm or somebody digs up this or whatever it is.
Yeah.
This was the one where they went to a house. And if anybody's watching on Facebook Live right now, I cannot remember where this house was. You can probably Google it. They went and tore this house up. And they found blood. I remember they found blood in the hallway with the hardwood floors. And we all thought it was Hoffa's blood, but it wound up not. It was somebody else, something else.
It was here?
It was here.
Lake Orion.
So that's the house they went to?
I think so.
Okay, because there was this whole thing. There was the farm out in Lake Orion. I remember that.
Rolled up carpet, floorboards from a Detroit home.
That's it.
That's
the one. It was a Detroit house, and they went in there and tore it up, and they found blood, but then they realized it wasn't Hoffa's.
Yeah.
Because there's always the stories that Hoffa had, I don't know.
When did they not find blood in an abandoned house in Detroit, though,
right.
in all honesty?
And one of, Jimmy, let me grab him here. Sebastian, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. What's happening?
We're just in here talking about Jimmy Hoffa. You know, we have a little bit of a connection to it here in Detroit.
Yeah, I believe so.
And we were just discussing when the Irishman book, so you know, when the book came out with Frank Sheeran, when it came out, they tore up that house here in Detroit looking for blood.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And and we're just reading it because what happens here, Sebastian, every couple of years, there's a new thing about Hoffa. So like one year he was buried at a horse farm. That was in Lake Orion, right?
And then there was like another one in Milford, and they tore down a barn. And
then when Frank's came out, though, they went to this house and they tore out the carpet and everything, and they found out that there was blood on the wood, and they went, "Oh my God, it's Hoffa's blood!" And then they found out it really wasn't, or maybe it was, and they just don't want us to know.
Well, I mean, by the time they find them, Detroit sounds like it's might gonna be ripped to shreds. The whole town. I mean, they're knocking down barns, carpets.
It's what we do. I'm telling you, there are certain things in every city, but in Detroit, every couple of years we get a new Jimmy Hoffa story that comes out. It always happens. It always happens.
That keeps it interesting.
You are a rock star, dude. You're a rock star right now.
Listen, everything is going good, but in my family, especially my father, he's always thinking negative. This thing could end tomorrow. So, he's like, your tongue could fall out, and then what? I'm like, Dad, what are you talking about?
Sebastian Maniscalco with us. Say hi to everybody. We're on Facebook Live as well, Sebastian.
Oh, I wish I could. Everybody could see my ugly face.
Oh, you're not. What are you talking about, man? You're a rock star.
It's the self-deprecation in me constantly.
Right. My friend used to say self-defecating humor. I'm like, no, that's not. I think that's wrong.
Thing.
Yeah, little different. 2 shows at the Fox Theater Friday, April 5th. Man, what a great venue and a perfect venue for you. Hey, I want to ask you something about. You mentioned your dad, so I want to ask this. I was watching the Netflix special, laughing my ass off. Was your dad was there? Because you joked that he was in town that week, so he was there at Radio City, right? Watching you do that.
Oh, yeah, no, my dad has been, I think, at my last 3 specials. So, yeah, anytime he has a chance to come out and see my comedy, he's there. And he was there at Radio City and then subsequently at the Madison Square Garden show that I just did a couple months back. So, yeah, he's always, walking around the theater, walking around the arena, taking photos. I mean, he came to my book signing and was signing my books.
What?
Yeah, I went to one of the bookstores in Chicago, and he came with me. So there was a line that had started, and I noticed every time I got a book, a signature would be in there, and I go, "Is that my dad?" He's signing him. He's signing him too. Signing him too. So he really is enjoying the celebrity kind of lifestyle.
Is that why you were kind of it looked like you were getting the giggles when you were doing it? Anytime you would do an impression of him during the special, you had this big, just Cheshire Cat grin on your face.
Yeah, sometimes I don't know. I'm just having fun up there, and when I do my dad, it's just fun to do him, and sometimes I start to crack up myself just because these are stories that I just grew up telling around the kitchen table, and now I'm kind of doing them for just a larger audience.
I gotta work! Get the baby, I gotta work!
He's constantly working, this man. I mean, he's 72 and he's still cutting hair. I mean, I'm like, Dad, it's over. I mean, his back is hunched. He ripped it. He's working with one arm. He's got one bicep that ripped apart. And so it looks like one of his arms, he's got a beautiful bicep because it's torn, and the other looks like a chopstick. So, he's a mess, and I think he's going to work till he dies, this guy.
Now, I have to ask, though, when he's in the audience, is there a joke or something you stay away from just because he's there watching and listening to you?
No, I mean, there's no jokes in my act that I really are embarrassed of or he's embarrassed of. So everything's kind of free range when it comes to poking fun at him. It's not malicious in any way. It's just kind of good-hearted fun. I mean, there's a joke I did about him killing animals in the back with antifreeze on bologna because, yeah, but that wasn't even him. That's my buddy's father that did that. So I'm like, oh, that sounds like a good story, and maybe my father would do that. But there's a lot of stories sometimes that are coming from other people, or not necessarily him.
Is he your humble pie? I've always had this in life that there's someone in my life that was so amazing that no matter what I do, whatever little success I have in life or whatever, if I get too full of myself, I think about my grandma who raised 5 boys and 2 girls by herself in Chicago growing up when my grandfather passed away suddenly. She raised 7 kids on her own in the 30s and 40s in Chicago, and she's the most badass person I know in my life. So no matter what I do, I will never measure up to that woman, and she keeps me centered. Is your dad your humble pie?
I think so. Here's a guy that came here from Sicily when he was 15 years old on a boat, didn't know anybody, didn't know the language, then served in the military here for 2 years, and then started businesses, similar to what you're talking about your grandmother. So, yeah, I mean, he's really did a lot for his family, and yeah, I mean, whatever. I'm doing jokes, but my grandfather, my father, who came here and gave us all a chance, that's my humble pie.
Nice. Yeah, it's always fun. I love it because the reverence to family and stuff. And we all think you're a New Yorker anyway. Everybody seems to think you're from New York, Sebastian.
Yeah.
Right?
No, grew up in the northwest suburbs of Chicago, Midwest guy, and a lot of people think I'm from Bensonhurst. So yeah, I don't know. I think it might be the attitude too. It's very similar, Chicagoans and people from New York. It just even the people from the Midwest, I think that kind of hardworking, wholesome, down to earth, I think people really gravitate towards. And also talking about family, people love the stuff about their family and father and mother and all those relationships. And I think stand-up comedy sometimes doesn't serve that that person out there who's kind of just looking for just an observational look at life with some family humor.
I wanted to talk with you a little bit about the Oscars. I know that you were in the Golden Globe winning film Green Book. You went to the Oscars, and I read something that you actually fell down the stairs while you were there.
Yeah, my Oscar experience wasn't like most people. I was in mezzanine 3, which is I couldn't see. I couldn't see the show that was that high. So I went to the lobby, had a couple drinks, and walking around in tuxedo, and fell down like 9 or 10 steps in my tuxedo at the Oscars. So I was like, the Green Book wins the Oscar, and I'm in the lobby trying to get in to get on stage. You know, it was like one of these things where like I'm in the movie, and yeah, right, yeah,
right,
you're
sure
in the
you
movie.
are.
It was like trying to get into a hot nightclub. So the movie world is so different than stand-up. You know, I mean, it's just it's like high school all over again. You're starting as a freshman, and you're trying to get into the hot parties. So, yeah, my Oscar experience was not that good.
Yeah, a friend of mine they got an invite to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremony in 2004 for Springsteen, the one where Prince was there jamming for honoring George Harrison. Bob Seger was being inducted. They got a table. And they're like, in their minds, they think it's going to be Goodfellas when they go to see Bobby Vinton and they walk him to the front. So they get there to this hall in New York, and they go, all right, we got your table. And it's great. It was outside of the hall by the door. So they were there technically, but they weren't in the venue. They were right next to the door. They could hear it through the door, and the guy propped the door open for them so they could hear the band.
Yeah, that sounds similar to my Oscar experience. It's not always what it's cracked up to be, but I actually tell the whole story on my podcast, The Pete and Sebastian Show, with Pete Corielli, who's another comedian. So
fantastic.
It's kind of a funny story between Pete and I, kind of riffing back and forth.
Are you nervous about doing Joe Gallo? I mean, Joe Gallo, there's a nickname Crazy. It came for a reason, and the stories and stuff. What have you learned about this guy since you signed on to do that role?
Yeah, he had like a pet tiger in his house. He really kind of defied the mob in a way where he hired people out of prison that were not Italian to do some mob related things. He kind of was a loose cannon, and it was interesting to talk to people who knew him. There's not a lot of stuff online about him, the way he's moved, the way he spoke, which I kind of really wanted to get down. But I haven't seen the movie. I don't even know how I did. I mean, you know how you do in stand-up because people are laughing, but when you're doing acting, you're not really familiar with it. You're like, is this working? So I'm interested to see my own portrayal of the guy.
I was laughing because I was doing some research on him last night, and I'm looking, and there's like a Wikipedia page, obviously. And it says career in violent crime, started sometime mid-40s, ended when he died, like in 75 or whatever it is. And I'm thinking to myself, there's not really a start date. I don't think Dillinger put in there like May 23rd. I remember it well. My first crime.
Okay. Went in for the interview and filled out the application. And there's none of that in the mob. But, this is going to be one of these movies that's, it's Scorsese, De Niro, Pacino. It's going to be really, really exciting when it comes out, and hopefully, if I go to the Oscars next year, I won't be falling down any stairs.
You'll be closer in the same zip code this time.
Yeah, hopefully.
Gotta have goals.
You weren't the only one to fall, though. Rami Malek fell off the stage, so hey, you have that in common.
Well, you know what? He got a lot of publicity than my fall.
It is.
Nobody knew I fell.
So no, are there? I was going to say, are there any pictures, any photos? Nothing.
No. This was like the show was going on, and I was walking downstairs in the lobby, which I think 3 or 4 people might have seen it, but there was no photographers. It was not recorded. No one knows it happened, but you guys.
Do stand-up comedians? Do you ever we have classic rock acts that take headers. We see it all the time, like Dave Grohl and them, and Steven Tyler's walked off stage a couple times. Do stand-ups? Do you just I can't imagine it's just the same thing. You just go walking off stage.
For what?
fall off? Do you ever just like not know where you are and fall off stage?
I did. I did fall. Actually, it happened in Detroit. This was 3 or 4 years ago. I was saying goodnight to everybody, and I popped my calf, and I collapsed off the side stage, not in the audience, but like when I was walking off, and I couldn't move. There's an ambulance that had come and get me. I mean, this is just literally walking backwards, waving to people. Yeah, that was my only incident on stage where I got hurt.
Oh God! Oh, was everybody out of the venue? Hopefully, by the time the ambulance and everyone showed up.
I was supposed to do a meet and greet outside. I couldn't even make because I was in the ambulance. So, yeah, I don't think anybody knew, but there was an announcement that came on through the loudspeaker that I had gone to the hospital.
Why haven't they made your family into a TV series yet?
I tried. I did it with Tony Danza 3 or 4 years ago for NBC. We made a pilot. He played my father. Vanessa Lachey played my wife, and it was about my old school father and my kind of young new wife and me in between. And I thought, geez, I mean, I looked at the pilot. I thought it was at least good enough for 7 or 8 episodes to get picked up. And of course, with TV, it's just difficult. We never got on the air, and I don't know if that opportunity ever pops its head again. I'd consider it, but right now I'm just having fun doing the movie thing and doing my stand-up.
You're the best, man.
So excited. Stay Hungry Tour, April 5th at the Fox Theater, 2 shows, 7 and 10 o'clock. SebastianLive.com for ticket details, and you can also watch his Stay Hungry special on Netflix.
Yeah, by the way, we didn't have the long tube to suck the boogers out of our kids' nose. We had that little syringe thing that you stuck in and sucked them back out.
Yeah. Yeah, the syringe thing doesn't really work. You really got to get your mouth on that thing and start sucking.
Yeah, you got to give a warning, though, dude. I was eating spaghetti when you did that part of the special. You can't. There's got to be like a little warning. If eating, stop before you get to that part, man.
Yeah, well, that was one of my favorite jokes. It's just it's all true, so anything that comes from truth is always funny.
Did you get to do any scenes with Pesci in The Irishman?
Yeah, my first scene was Pesci and De Niro, so needless to say, I was sweating. I mean, they were very gracious and.
Did you tell him? Did you say anything to him like, "Go get your shine box"? Come on, you have to.
I didn't say nothing. I was one of these guys where I didn't want to get fired. I didn't talk to nobody unless spoken to on that set. So I didn't say anything to anyone. I just did my job, and then that's the end of that.
All right, I want to leave you this. I was thinking about this when we were talking to Sebastian Maniscalco. Thanks so much for the time again, like Aaron said, at the Fox Theater. There's a story about being an astronaut. If you go into a bar with an astronaut and somebody says, "What do you do for a living?" "Well, I'm a DJ." "Well, what does he do?" "Neil's an astronaut." He's the coolest guy in the bar. You now have an astronaut. You can walk into any bar and say, "I was in a Scorsese movie." You realize that that's game over. No one can top that.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, if you would have told me I was going to be in a movie with Pacino, De Niro, and Pesci, Harvey Keitel in this thing, and Martin Scorsese's directing, I would have told you we're nuts, and here it is happening. So, that is my astronaut moment.
So there it is. He just actually said it. If I trim that down and take off if you had told me, I can actually play that in bars and maybe get credit for it, Sebastian. So, hey, it's great talking to you. We will see you. I'm going to be there we're going for the 7 o'clock show, man. Cannot wait.
Well, cool, man. Thanks for having me on the show, and I'll see you in Detroit.
Don't pull a hammy when you're done with the show either. Be safe.
I won't. All
right. See you, bud.
Bye.
You don't want to fall off the Fox Theater stage. Just saying.
Oh my God, yeah, that would be a long way to go.
Into the orchestra pit.
Holy crap! Yeah. Ooh. If you guys don't know, look up The Irishman, the movie that's coming out in October is what they're thinking.
I'm looking forward to this now.
That's everybody he listed is Scorsese, and like I said, we were talking about before we came on during this when we had your buddy Mosky on, our movie critic friend after the Oscars. They being Netflix, put $30 million into marketing Roma just to the Academy Award people. So they've already said this is the movie Netflix is going to put all their money behind this year for Academy Awards next year. Drops in the fall. They'll put it on Netflix and in theaters as well.
It's one I would definitely watch.
Are you kidding me? Now I got to go get the Frank Sheeran book or go buy that house in Detroit and see if it's still anything there.
No.
No? All right, we'll get our shine box. Bye, everybody.